Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg, I meant to be on location this week at Food Tank at South by Southwest, but the cellular data was a little strained out there. So
Too
we
many
had to
damn people, huh?
too many people, too many hipsters, everyone's on their phone. And it was out in East Austin at the Bar Mansion, so that's not actually like in the hive of activity. But this was my third food tank to go to, and the event has really evolved ever since I ever saw my first, food tank event in Sacramento like 10 years ago or something like that. One of those key things being that Driscoll's is a title sponsor and one of the few title sponsors for it. And I talked to Alejandra Sanchez about, she's their corporate sustainability person, and she was also a speaker. And I talked to her about why they attend this event, why they sponsor this event. And it kind of mirrors what I was thinking and reinforces what I was thinking is that it's nice to get out of our trade bubble and hear what the broader like thought leadership in food is thinking about, sustainability and consumer outreach. And we had sessions all the way from sustainable seafood in the morning to some folks from the White House talking about nutrition and policy and, sustainable meat, bugs.
Did you actually sit in on that session?
It was part of a different one. The guy was on the end, and I feel like he knew he was out of place, but his shirt was said "Bugs End Hunger." And I'm like, maybe if you're feeding them to your chickens. And he actually did mention that because he was talking about, if you don't want to eat bugs, then we're talking about feeding bugs to your livestock and stuff like that. And I can get behind feeding bugs to my chickens if I ever
I
had.
I have done that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is an appropriate application of bugs in the food chain for people.
Yeah, well, I'm not eating feed corn either. I'm eating the things that will eat feed corn.
Right? Exactly. And my experience at Food Tank wrapped up with Alejandra had a presentation about the series of videos that Driscoll's just published, talking about a couple of different areas of their business, water being one of them, and then a feature on their the soccer team that they actually have together, the soccer club for kids. It used to be a field for farm workers, but now it's actually a field for youth soccer, of which most of those kids are farm workers' kids. So an interesting day, an interesting crowd for sure, and a lot of really interesting people watching.
How did it compare to coming basically almost straight from SCPC, which is a very big, small industry event?
Right. So SEPC, I feel like, is for those of us in the industry, we're talking about new products, innovations, what we're bringing to the table. I feel like SEPC has become like a premier event in the spring for companies to trial new products. And I mentioned that I had my 5 things that I took away from the expo floor, and the expo floor is full of stuff I haven't seen before. And that would not have been like a regional trade show in the past unless they're like a soft launch and, hey, don't write about this because we haven't actually launched this yet. And now it's, hey, come to my booth and try this new genetically engineered tomato, which I did. I tried it. It was good. And so there were so many new products at SCPC that I could not list them all. And that wouldn't have been like that, I feel like, 8 or 10 years ago. So definitely shows the dominance of that event and the quality of what you're getting on the show floor. So that is a business inside our industry, seeing people we see all the time, getting opinions that we hear all the time, talking about the business of produce. This event is talking about the possibilities of food, if that makes sense. And there's like passing shrimp cocktail, and there's like cotton candy maker, and it's just there were snacks everywhere in the same way that we have in the produce industry, but instead of it being like chicken satay skewers, it was Impossible Chicken with Gotham greens pesto. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a lot different. I'm looking forward to seeing your coverage and letting our readers see it.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I
we
was
can't get away from retail news. We of course had some of that this week too. Well, let's just start off with the dollar store angle.
Yeah, so Dollar Tree had its quarterly report this week, and for those of you who aren't familiar with Dollar Tree, who don't know the suburban mom lore of going in there and making craft projects out of all the stuff they have for $1, they actually increased their prices to $1.25 tree, and they acquired Family Dollar, which was a head-to-head competitor of Dollar General 5 or 6 years ago, and they announced this week that they plan to close 1,000 stores. And for perspective, they have about 17,000 stores, half of which are Family Dollar locations. And they plan to close like 97% of the stores that they plan to close are Family Dollar stores. So there's a couple of things I think going on there. Family Dollar announced that it was adding fresh produce to select stores, but only like the key SKUs. Like they only mentioned 5 or 6 different SKUs, like apples, grapes, potatoes, onions, that kind of stuff. So they're relatively new to the produce biz, and they were kind of a secondary competitor to Dollar General, which of course Dollar General has 20,000 stores and they are dominant in that space, and they have a smaller footprint, lower overhead. So I think it's really interesting that the Family Dollar is shedding off the stores that have broader assortment and more produce possibilities.
Is it an area you think that they don't feel competitive in?
Well, if you like me, if it's around next week, who knows? If you're a TikTok scroller like I am, it's really interesting to see. And you can tell that some of these posts are put there by people who have been paid by Dollar Tree to show you how to shop for food at Dollar Tree. So they're really looking to attract an audience to talk about the food that you have, and particularly that you can eat well, or at least on a budget, and eat, decently from eating at Dollar Tree. So they haven't completely scrapped the idea of food. And when they introduced the $1.25, they also introduced some higher price points on some items. So I don't think it's like out of the realm of possibility that they would add more produce to the standard Dollar Tree store. I think that they're just closing off those Family Dollar stores that were duds, honestly. So
Well, the CEO mentioned inflation factor again highly, and then also some SNAP benefit decreases. And it sounds like that's a lot of their customer base.
yeah.
And honestly, don't they have a bit of a reputation issue? I seem to recall Family Dollar being in the news for some health code violations and whatnot. That's a
Yeah, they have some issues with that too. And I'm sure that reduced SNAP benefits, they hit all retailers, but especially the dollar stores. Not only because everything there is supposed to be cheaper than a grocery store, but also because they have a broader reach, and in a lot of smaller communities. I remember my first job out of college was at the Schulenburg Sticker, which was on the main drag of Schulenburg, Texas, population 2,600. And when it came time to write the stories, I would walk down the street and there was a Family Dollar and a Dollar General right across the street from each other. And I would decide which one am I going to go get my snack at to keep me at my computer to write my stories. And that was that small towns. Basically, they had one little other grocery store, and the Family Dollar or Dollar General was it, where you could buy food in this community. So they have a much broader reach, especially amongst rural food deserts. So they have some opportunities there, but yeah, the Family Dollar format was sometimes a little bit bigger than a Dollar General, a little bit bigger assortment, maybe a little more expensive. And they just clearly aren't competing as well as Dollar General and Dollar Tree in this space.
Well, we can't end the this episode without talking about the latest in the Kroger Albertsons. It's
As the Kroger turns.
yeah, the CEO addressed the FTC's lawsuit directly actually last Friday. So he addressed it. It's clear he's not a fan. Do you what do you think about his the points he's making?
Here's the quote that I think is funny, or telling of how he feels about this. He said, "The character of a company is clear in its actions, regardless of what others claim. Kroger keeps its commitments." So what I said a couple of weeks ago about really, as far as them saying that they're going to lower prices after the merger, I feel like he's addressing people's skepticism that prices will not go up when competition goes down if they are allowed to merge. And he also, he's mentioned union jobs. A lot of the Kroger stores are union, and investments in wages. So he also mentioned that the retail industry is competitive. It's not like competition's going to go away. And I would also, if I was this guy, probably point to what's going on with Aldi and Aldi's growth. They are definitely becoming a major competitor to a lot of retailers in a lot of states that maybe haven't had to worry about it before.
Oh yeah, with we just had a story this week on food inflation. It was slightly higher than expected. The good news for our industry is produce remains below overall food. So our industry is handling it better, but it's still a problem. And as analysts are finally starting to acknowledge, food inflation is cumulative. Like we said, like we've been saying, like we
Mm-hmm.
can say it's not 5% inflation, it's 25, it's 30.
I mean,
Like
Anna
it is
Marie,
cumulative.
yeah, at the Power of Produce at Southeast Produce Council, Anna Marie mentioned like it's in the 30% range compared to 2019. And a couple of the panelists, the guy who was from Lidl and 99 cents only, and the gal from Whole Foods, both mentioned that they like units are the problem now. Like we're like they've maintained sales dollars in a lot of places, but units are down, and a lot of retailers are really focused on that, and because unit pressure is becoming a really huge issue, and it's making promotions and strategic promotions ever more important. Consumers are looking for promotions. The reason why fresh produce has maintained its sales and has kind of stayed away from a lot of that inflation, Anna Marie said, was because people are increasing the number of trips that they're doing. Their basket size is kind of smaller, but they're going to the store more often. And that tells me people are trying to buy, not to waste. Because you're not going to go and do the once a month stock up and then, halfway through your grocery, halfway through your grocery haul at home, you're like, oh shoot, we didn't end up eating that. We're going to throw it away. You're going to go weekly now, or you're going to go more often, to make sure that what you're buying isn't going bad before you use it.
Are people also picking and choosing a little more? Like looking at the circulars, seeing, oh, strawberries are very cheap at this one. I don't usually go to, but I'll go get that and maybe 30 or $40 worth of other stuff.
Yeah, there was some really interesting numbers on the amount of food that's sold on promotion. It's not quite to 2019 levels, it's actually below that. And some of that is because retailers got away from doing the paper circular, and ads are done a little bit differently nowadays. But consumer demand for promotions is not going down. People are looking for those, and they're also open to newer ideas. I think it was 60% of the respondents in the Power of Produce said they are totally cool with customized promotions sent to something like their email or a cell phone or something like that, text promotions. They're not annoyed by it, because they want to save some money. As long as it's something that's going to save them some money, they're totally okay with it.
Yeah, what's in it for me? If it's a commercial, That's not good enough. If it's a coupon or a good deal, now something's in it for me. I think that's the
Right.
way to.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up this week. That's it for the Produce Reporter Weekend Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up.
And you have CPMA and Viva Fresh coming up. At some point, I'm going to get to travel this year, right?
At some point, sometime this summer we'll let you out. It's one of those things that this is the busy season for me, and then it quiets down.
I guess so.